You are listening to the Pencil and Paper Podcast Network. Visit pencilandpaperproductions.podbean.com to find more great podcasts.
Welcome to the Palace of Megapixels. This is Super Mega Crash Brothers Turbo!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Super Mega Crash Brothers Turbo. I'm your host, Stephen White. With me, as always, my co-host, Lacey Finley.
Happy Monday.
We are so close.
So close.
So close. Do you know what I'm talking about?
To April? I don't
You're not, no, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
But as of today, we're mere days away from that big match that I've been harping on for however long now. Godzilla and Kong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
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 I'm excited.
Well, it's been taken back from you so many times that I guess now it just
has.
keeps slipping my mind. I just assume it's happened, it's come, it's gone.
No.
And no, it
No,
hasn't.
it was, I think it was supposed to be May of 2020, and then it got moved back to November, and then they said, okay, well, May of 2021, and everyone was just like, just stop moving it, please. And then finally, they were like, okay, what about April? And we're like, you're moving it up? Really? And they're like, yeah. Oh, wait. March. Middle of March. And we're like, yes. And they're like, oh, wait. End of March. You're like, stop! Stop toying with me!
I don't believe it anymore.
Yeah. So, hopefully by next week, I can say with absolute confidence, yay, I love it,
Yay.
or I think I'll like it. I mean, I've been seeing a lot of the early reviews, and they say about what they all say about Monster Action's pretty cool, but the humans are garbage. It's so stupid.
Humans, though, I mean, they got a point.
If you watch one of these movies and you try to ground it in reality, that's a hard sell. When you're talking about 400-foot monsters,
Sure.
you know.
But, I mean, we live in a land now where, I mean, there's no such thing as satire or, I mean, there's probably full-on groups that we're just unaware of discussing how many times they've actually seen Godzilla, probably next to the Loch Ness Monster somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's interesting about some of the arguments that I've heard is they complain about the pseudoscience, okay? Look, again, giant monsters aren't real. As much as I would like them to be in some weird way,
Cases, I mean.
they're not real. So that's already a suspension of disbelief when it comes to science. Because when you start trying to explain, well, how did this happen? Radiation from a bomb and, he just got bigger. No, that's not how it works. But then you're going to complain, well, why does this thing happen? That shouldn't happen. How do you know?
Right.
And again, fiction.
Fiction, yeah.
The
Just
greatest.
live within the laws that they create. I only get annoyed if they break their own laws.
Very
like,
true.
I'll
very true.
lean into anything. Like, this is your world and you're creating it and I want to enjoy it. But once you start breaking your own, so I'm like, you know what, though? I was leaning in and now you're changing it on me. And
Yeah. It's like, oh, well, we painted ourselves into a corner with this pseudoscience. I don't know what else to do. Change it. So, whatever. I mean, that's whatever. While I'm on this subject, I'll go ahead and say, if you haven't checked out the newest episode of Podcasters Assemble, check that out. They did Godzilla King of the Monsters. I felt like I was on the opposite end of the room again. And I didn't say I hated it. It just felt familiar. You know what I mean? Like, when, say you've watched a movie, okay, what's your favorite movie? Let's use that as an example.
My favorite movie of all time. Oh man.
Or something that you really, really enjoy watching. Just give me something.
See, now I get put on the spot. I'll just throw out a dumb movie that I used to watch all the time, and then you guys can make fun of me. The Whole 9 Yards.
Okay, The Whole 9 Yards. I don't know where I can go with this.
Time.
with this, I used to watch that. Was it a good movie?
Well, I mean, to be fair, I had just gotten my first new place and had 2 DVDs. So yeah, it was fine.
Okay.
It was a good movie.
Matthew Perry's all right.
Or anything. Yeah.
Like
Matthew Perry, Bruce Willis pair up. It was pretty good. It was fun. Yeah.
I used to watch Fools Rush In all the time because of, like, I had a big crush on Simon Hayek, still do.
Good reason.
But I thought he was funny.
Yeah.
And the two of them together, I was like, hell yeah, I'm into this. I still like it.
I'm into seeing Chandler in different situations. Sure.
Yeah. Sure. Why not?
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do anything with that analogy, so let me use or that example. It's not an analogy. I'm going to use Evil Dead. Since it's
good.
that's got Bruce in it for you. So say someone decided that they were going to do a new Evil Dead, and they took elements from Evil Dead 1, elements from Evil Dead 2, elements from Evil Dead 3, and didn't necessarily Easter egg them, but recreated scenes from each one into one package. So it's like all 3 movies crammed into one.
Okay.
That was my problem with this movie. I was like, I know what's going to happen here. I know what's going to happen here.
So kind of like a shot for shot.
And I know that not everybody knows the Japanese movies like I do.
Sure.
So
especially here.
Yeah, so that's fair. But for me, there were less Easter eggs and more, let's recreate this moment, let's recreate that moment.
Okay.
So nothing surprised me. It was just like, it's cool to see on a, big budget and everything, but it's like, I know exactly what's going to happen here.
I've seen this story.
Yeah. Like when, again, this is not spoilers if you know the character. When Mothra died, I was like, saw that coming because she dies all the time. So if she
kind of like when you see Sean Bean enter a movie, you're like,
yeah,
well.
yep, I know who's going to die.
Well.
I mean, it's had she survived, that would have been a twist. I'd have been like, holy crap, she made it. But no, she died. Just like every other movie she's in.
I feel like they should have now, and then the next movie had her die right away. Just as like,
yeah,
and you could be like, well, yeah.
That would have been a twist.
Yeah, a little gotcha moment.
But yeah, I gave you kind of a rundown. But the way the guy edits it, like I said, Eric Slater does a great job editing it together.
Fun.
And he had a little fun with one of my comments, Mothra just doing Mothra stuff. He seemed to repeat it throughout the the pod.
Good for you.
And I like that. I was like, So next week, I know the movie Godzilla vs. Kong is coming out, but I think their episode the following week will be King Kong vs. Godzilla from 1962, the original Japanese version. And I've already submitted my audio for that because I just did like a double whammy twofer and just got them all out. That one is another one of my favorites, so there's a quick little glimpse into my opinion on that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to listen to that whenever it comes out, it'll be shared on the social medias and whatnot. Also, I had another podcast that I was featured on this week.
Yeah, look at you making waves in the pod world.
I had actually forgotten I did this. I think we recorded this at the end of December last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh wow! See, I would have thought a little earlier, maybe, but recording world.
I'm guessing based on certain things I said in the podcast. I was like, okay, because
That's why I felt like it was a while ago.
Yeah. Because I think it was when he was asking me to pitch or promote whatever, and I said we were on hiatus, and I was like, well, that would have to have been December because we weren't back yet. So.
Yeah, I feel like that's the only like lengthy break we take outside of a week or two for holidays or whatever.
Yeah, I know summer break. Break.
Yeah. See, I don't know what we do. I just show up when Steven tells me it's time, and then go about my day.
It's time.
It's time. All right.
But it's called Conversation, a clever thing on conversation and station.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, there's 2 episodes out. I was episode 2. Someone we've never had on the show, but I've talked to kind of an adjacent friend of the show, Phil Better. I've also been on his podcast. He was the first person on the first episode. It's good conversations. Phil's a great guy. If you've listened to that other, you know he's a good conversationalist. And he's Canadian, eh? I'm
going to have to argue with him just a little. Phil, if you're listening, Letterkenny, you got to watch it, man.
No, he loves Letterkenny. He's the one that gave me...
Phil, I love you, but you got to rewatch it. I think you missed some gems in there, is all I'm saying. Okay, maybe I just have this unhealthy bias towards the show.
He seemed to like it. He just said a lot of it was real. Like, from his perspective.
Well, yeah, that could be any rural town, insert in your country, maybe, you know?
So, there's that, if you want to do that.
Yes.
Last thing I want to touch on before we get into the all-important question of what we're playing. Can we just do a quick... Don't want to divert off topic too much, but I just want to talk about this Asian hate thing going on. And I don't understand it. I don't understand what happened.
Well, I feel like I understood what happened. It's just unfortunate that with like a lot of us kept trying to warn against this hateful rhetoric and and everyone who's not affected, decided to be the one to speak on the behalf early on. Oh, it's not a big deal. Well, it's not a big deal. That's what it is, and
well, this isn't me trying to be, white privilege, I guess, or whatever. I hate that I never see it. I hate that I don't see the signs. I know that there was China virus, Wuhan, or whatever the fuck that fat ass was spewing.
Yeah.
And I understand that was
calling it by its term.
Yeah, I understand that was the rhetoric that probably stoked this fire. I guess I got confused because I was like, well, why didn't it happen then? Not that I wanted it to, mind you. That's not what I'm saying.
The timing of it.
But
seemed
yeah. So I thought he'd left the public consciousness, but every time we turn around, they come back and they find a way to, remind us that this ignorant bastard stirred this up. And I'm dumbfounded by it. I'm dumbfounded by it because it's unacceptable. It's ridiculous. And anytime I see this stuff, I feel like I don't know what to do, Yeah. Because we have friends who fit the bill. Yeah. And I swear to God, if something happened to them, I'm going to be pissed. Because they didn't do anything. They are who they are just because that's the hand that life dealt them.
Just like you had no control over who you turned out, in that
I can't help that I'm white.
Right.
Okay, so when you hate me or you give me flack, you don't understand because I'm sorry I'm white. I can't, and this is not, don't pity me. I don't give a shit. Right. I know I'm white. I know I got privilege. I can't help it. I didn't ask for it. Same reason or same way that no one else
asked. And I believe you're actively taking steps to work.
I'm always trying to better myself, whatever I can do. And none of these people, whether you be Asian, black, Hispanic, whatever other race in the world that seems to get more hate than white people, didn't ask to be who they are. They just are.
And it still dumbfounds me that we equate skin with an intelligence level or whatever it is in your head that makes you hate someone who just doesn't look like you for the sake of it. Again.
Yeah.
I'll never understand why you think that just means all of a sudden something's operating differently in their brain or whatever it is journey you've taken yourself on to lead you to where you are.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. I'm getting off on a rant. I just wanted to bring it up because it is on my mind. Mm-hmm. And I've seen stories. And I guess to our blanket Asian listeners, whoever you may be, if you fit that bill, if you're one of those people who think that you are going to be a target. Could be
or
a
just
target.
having to live with that
Or just having to
knowledge
live
that
with
it's going on out
Yeah.
there, and
Just know
probably personal experiences.
Yeah.
You know?
Just know we stand with you.
Yeah.
Do not like this at all. I wish there was more I could do. And if there is, you know what? Educate me. Tell me what I can do. Tell me what I can do outside of standing beside you, speaking on your behalf, stopping the hateful rhetoric anytime I hear it. What more can I do? Because I hate it.
I think that's well enough.
Yeah, but
honestly, like, I mean, again, I don't want to speak on anyone else's behalf because it's just not a personal experience that I have, but listening to it, I'm definitely listening and hearing where I could be better, and it's not even to perform online or do any of that, you know, like just pay attention and listen and adjust accordingly. And
yeah.
I'm not very articulate when it comes to these sort of things, but it's got to stop. It's got to stop. Should have never started. It's our fellow humans, and we're all just trying to get along and do the same thing. Raise our families, be good people, you know, just it's the same thing. It's the same thing as you're trying to do.
So I'm gonna jump off my little soapbox. I just wanted to bring that up. I'll probably kind of circle back around to this a little bit later, the more I was just thinking about it. But you'll understand why.
Okay. All right.
When we get there. But what have you been playing?
So I dove into Doctor Who and the Lonely Assassins, that new FMV that dropped last weekend. From the people who also did Simulacra. It's a fun game. It's definitely the Simulacra formula, but with like a Doctor Who story. Now, I'm coming from a place of never really watched Doctor Who.
Okay.
You know, so I wasn't sure if I was going to be lacking on story elements or how much they would pull from, you know, the Doctor Who world, because I know there's been many iterations at this point. And now I think I actually know more about it than I did. But yeah, it's very much like in the same formula. You have a phone, you know, again, it's another one that I almost highly recommend to play on mobile just because of how it's set up. If you're more of like wanting to fall into the role playing aspect of it, like you found this phone and you're going through it and you're helping one of the other people find someone. I don't know how much is spoilers or whatever, you know, but you know, so you're going through their phone and finding hints and clues and trying to put together puzzles and back and forth until you get one of the endings, and it was fun. I don't know. If you played Simulacra and all of them, then you know exactly how to play already. Instead of it just being like this evil entity, they've come up with their Doctor Who ways of making it be wonky and weird and kind of spoopy and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, a fun, if you're into FMVs and into that kind of stuff, it was like $5. Go do it. And even on mobile, I think it's like $3. I was surprised when I saw that it was $3 on mobile. Yeah, I threw money at it both ways. I'm just that person. I was just like, when I saw it was only $3 on mobile, I'm like, but there's more endings and I could play it in bed now. That's how I rationalized it. They got a whole $8 out of me. Woohoo. And then last night I stayed up too late playing this little simulation game called The Tenants, where I'm like trying to buy land and rent, and I'm a landlord, and it gets crazy and I don't know if I get it yet. Like I finally got to the point, I think I have 7 buildings, and then I renovated like 2 of them to rent out 2 rooms, right? Like, you know, I rented out this bedroom or at this, and y'all got your own common area or whatever. And I tell you what, the amount of people I got to harass for my rent.
Terrible.
Pay me! Baby! We negotiated this price. This is what you... And they'd be like, sorry, I don't have any money. And you know what I do? Psh, out! Break this agreement. And then they come right back in the next open house. It's really funny. But it's definitely beta. It's definitely early. Because there's some things I absolutely would change a little bit, because everything is... The UI is basically... you're going through your phone and the notification, it's too much. we have got to chill on these notifications. Like, I don't need a notification every time someone sends me my rent or, oh, I'm so sorry. Or that, like, my phone is constantly blowing up to the point where I can't focus on my renovations or whatever it is that I'm doing. So I'm like constantly like, who's got rats? Who's got roaches? What do I got to do? You know, like, we just got to chill on the notifications. That would be my feedback. Like, I don't need that every single time, because it gets to the point where I'd have enough going on that I think I'm failing everything, because I'm like, what's on my phone? Oh, I don't even need to know that. Okay, thanks for pay. Okay. You know, and I'm constantly looking at my phone, and then you concede to not looking at it, and then that's when you miss the big stuff. Like, their heat had been busted for like a week, and then they're like, oh, so I'm on my own then, I guess. And you're like, oh, yeah, I probably should have paid attention to that notification. So that's my one feedback. Is like, let's pare down the notifications to what's necessary. But it's cute, and I'm going to keep my eye on it, and I'm enjoying it. I think the older I get, the less stress I need in my games. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I feel you.
You know, so it's like, it's weird that the older I get, the more I'm gravitating towards these, I guess, non-gamer games. You know, like, what are you doing that for? And then, of course, I played a little bit more of the dark side again, because I still haven't gotten. I didn't watch it. I don't want a spoiler. I want to see if I can find it on my own.
Oh,
but I didn't see the tweet. Are you talking about like the special ending?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't watch it. And not because I don't love you, Darren, and everybody, but I kind of want to see if I can find it on my own. So I didn't want a spoiler. I'll
say this. I don't think I would have figured it out.
Okay, I'm going to put on my old school thinking cap and go back and dive in hardcore and see if I can figure it out.
For you being an FMV fan, there may be a reason for it, or you could think about that. Go,
I'm in that.
Boom. Yeah, there it is.
Brain. Yeah.
I don't think I would have figured that out. I feel like it would have been accidental on my part had I ever stumbled upon it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to see. I'm going to see. And if I fail it, then I'll go back and watch it. But just note, I saw it tweeted, and I actively skipped over it because I was like, no, I'm going to see if I can do it on my own and have it revealed to me that way. So, we'll see. Like, next week, you'll hear me say I gave up and probably just watched it anyway. But that's probably my week.
Okay.
Finished out those games. And, what have you been playing?
Well, I finally got back into Ni no Kuni 2.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I'm trying to remember from the last time that I actually started playing it, because I don't feel like it was just starting. But I finally hit a sweet spot in the game to where I want to play. You know, when you hit that moment and you're just like, can I play now? Can I play? Can I play? And you get kind of obsessed with it. And it's all because they added in an element, several elements, matter of fact, that kind of shift your gameplay. So you're not doing the same thing all the time.
Okay.
So you have your typical RPG elements, and the combat in it is much better than the first, because the first one was complicated. Or at least I felt like it was complicated, because I felt like you weren't technically fighting, but you were. And then you had these little, I don't remember what the hell they call them, little familiars or whatever, like these little characters you take with you, and then they would fight alongside you. Mm-hmm. And then you had to tell them what to do. And then, I don't know, it hurt my brain. Eventually, I got around to it. This one, is like, here's a sword, go cut it. And I was like, cool, I can do that.
Yeah.
So hack and slash. Now, they do add some layers of elements to it, like you can hold up to 3 weapons at once. And at first, I wasn't really thinking about, well, why is this a good idea? And then I started thinking about it last night, and I was like, maybe I could have a fire blade here, an ice blade here, and then maybe an electric blade here. So depending on the enemy I'm fighting, I can just swap them on the fly, because you can. You can swap them on the fly.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, I think I'm getting the reason behind this now. Like, I got to think. So the combat's great. You can go into battles. It's one of those where you can actually see the enemies. You're not running up on them or just randomly, because that shit gets on my nerves when you can't see your enemy. It's like you can choose. Yeah. It's like you actively seek them out. So if I see them and I want to fight them, I can do that. If I don't want to fight them, I can run the other direction. And I appreciate that. So combat's great. But then, this is where it really started to suck me in more. Now I have my own kingdom. Because you play a king without a kingdom in the game. And they're trying to find, well, hey, where could we set up our own little kingdom? And then it's like, you set it all up, and then they just kind of give you the basics, a small little area. And it's like, all right, now here's what you can do. You can create your own stores and your own little farm. And you got a shop, a chef can work here. You can have an armory, whatever you want, but they keep it small.
Okay.
But then once you build it up to a certain certain level of how many people you have and how much influence your kingdom has, then you can upgrade it and make it larger.
Yeah, all right.
And then I'm going to assume it can get much larger than that, because when I went up to the second level, it got twice the size of it. And I was like, oh, wow. So that's big. And I have heard that there are at least 2 more levels, so I cannot imagine how much larger this town can be.
Wow.
So it's really fun, because what I have to do now is, if I'm out on a quest or doing those things in the action world, I have to keep my kingdom in mind to go back every once in a while and make sure that I'm collecting money and I'm putting the resources into the shops and upgrading them and trying to get everything better for us as a kingdom and helping it grow. But another thing you got to do too is you got to recruit people out in the world. Mm-hmm. And that's the other part of it that's fun too, is because the people that you recruit, you then put to work in your town, and they all have special skills. So you want to apply their skills to where they would be the most efficient. So you have a chef, you put him in the, doing chef stuff. If you got somebody
who's a chef,
someone who's good, like a blacksmith, you put him in the weapon shop. Mm-hmm. That's how it all works. So everyone has a skill. You just have to apply it properly in the right places. And again, that element is fun, because now I'm like, all right, now I'm on the look for the next person who's going to be joining. And then you've got quests that I haven't quite finished yet, but I'm getting there. It's either I'm not quite where I need to be, or maybe I haven't come across whatever I need. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of keep it in the back of my head. That element's fun. Then they've got this other this is kind of still battle, but it's more strategic, is you get to do these things they call skirmishes. Mm-hmm. And it's like your kingdom fights another kingdom, and you have certain types of soldiers. So you have sword soldiers, hammer soldiers, archers, spears, and it kind of works like a paper, rock, scissors type thing. So blue beats red, red beats green, green beats blue, and then you have to be very strategic on how you do this, and then it'll set you up on a battlefield. You're in the middle, and then your groups are surrounding you, and then you have to navigate and take over or defeat the kingdom. And it can be easy, and it can be very challenging too. Mm-hmm. Because you have, say, a set number of soldiers, which is your might. So say you start off with 5,000. Well, if they start to wipe you out, that number dwindles. Now you can bring in more soldiers in your groups, but that also dwindles your numbers. Mm-hmm. So the more you keep bringing in, you have to be very strategic about how you do that. Like I've gotten to a point at times where I have had nothing but archers left, and I still won because I found a sweet spot on a cliff. And I was like, just
like
aim
as
at
your
them.
Shield?
Yeah. So they were just shooting down. The enemies couldn't hit me from above, and I was like, boom. But that doesn't work all the time, because there's not always a cliff.
Well, yeah, gotta adjust accordingly. Yeah.
So that's 3 different styles of gameplay. So you can either just do basic RPG action, strategic battle simulations, or town building, whatever you want to do.
Oh,
and
fun.
it just keeps it fresh no matter what you're doing. And you're always thinking, okay, well, what can I do here? What can I do here? Just keep going, along with a very decent story going along with it too. So
excellent.
I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Good. I feel like I have that. I'm gonna have to look now. Mm-hmm. Isn't it sad? I'm like, I think I have that game. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Such a problem.
I mean, you don't get into the extra stuff like the town or castle simulation or skirmishes until chapter 3 or 4. Whenever you establish your kingdom, that's when all that stuff opens up. But it's pretty linear up until then, which is good because they're not saying, hey, go here, go there. It's just like, hey, just stick to this path. You'll get there. And then when it opens up, then you can go do whatever your heart desires. And I appreciated that too.
Yeah.
So
accommodate your play style.
Mm-hmm. So what you got for us in the news?
We got a little bit of news going on this week. Let's see here. Well, I know we don't usually talk about Assassin's Creed a lot, but this story had come up quite a bit this week. And, you know, this is kind of a problem, Ubisoft. It seems like this is kind of an issue for people who want to love your game. It seems the players of Assassin's Creed Valhalla has been having a bad time, reportedly. They want to love this game. I'm reading through posts. They're trying so hard. It's like one of the first times I've seen it to where it's like, we're trying to love it and trying to have patience. But its post-launch woes just keep on continuing months later. Players are just losing patience now, as one might expect. It has been reported off and on that there's been game-breaking bugs, which seems like they were lucky if you didn't get it, as some players, like I was saying, had some patience, because we're talking like they can't even progress anymore. They've gotten to a point to where if this bug happens, you're just kind of effed. So since its launch in November of 2020, and it's now March, April, patches have come out. This particular bug just doesn't seem to be getting addressed. So with the release of patch 1.2, which was hefty sized, mind you, quite a few gigs, it brought new features to the table and new skills and a close camera option for this Ostara festival that's going to be happening in the game. So all this little fun stuff, which, by the way, that festival is March 18th through April 8th if you're a player. But the patch fixed graphical issues, smaller quest lines that people were getting stuck on, but the game-breaking bug was still there. So it's during a main storyline quest, and it's during an unskippable main cutscene, if you will, that prevents the players from interacting with any NPC after it's done in this village of Ravensthorpe. So your main quest giver allows you to pledge to new areas of the map and gain access to more content, but this person isn't popping. So if you're on the quest A Brewing Storm, from what I was reading, if this happens to you, you can't do anything but just kind of roam an empty feeling map. Like, people are reporting, like, trying to keep playing or doing something to just hopefully in time the quest giver or person that they're supposed to be going to would pop, and it's just not. The other thing that I read that some people got around it, and unfortunately this quest is like midway, a little past midway of the game, and it's a really long game. So we're talking you've probably put in 30, 35 hours already. Some people even tried to restore old save points. It looks like the only thing is just rolling the dice and starting it all over again and just hoping it doesn't happen to you, unless a fix comes out soon. So, that's a problem, man. It's 6 months.
Yeah, that's
I didn't realize
bad.
people 6 months later are still unable to beat the game because of this quest-breaking bug. So, I don't know. Ubisoft, maybe we need to look at that, because if people are going to start putting down your game and walking away and they're not even going to bother anymore. I mean, it's all fun and good to give them new DLC and all this stuff that's supposed to be coming, but can they get there?
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty important element to your game, is for people to want to beat it and actually do.
I mean, it's not even like a side quest. From what I kept reading, it's a main storyline bug. So some people just fine. You know, they got through it. It didn't happen. But it seems like a lot of them, just like if they're stuck there, they've just not been able to figure out any way around it to get it to move on past it.
So I guess my question with that is, clearly it's not affecting everyone, so I wonder what chain of events causes the bug to happen. Because I've heard that too, you know, in other games.
Like somebody didn't play test this one path maybe well enough, and then that's where maybe the little hiccup came in. It seemed like it was more console players. I don't know. Maybe it's just because, I don't know, we're so used to modding and taking care of our own stuff so early on that, I mean, it's not supposed to be a solution, but I guess we're all just kind of trained that way now. Like, oh, they're not going to fix this, so I'm just going to.
Yeah.
So, I mean, needless to say, I guess more patience, or, I mean, I don't know what to say at that point, because I couldn't find anybody, as of the time of me writing it, that figured out a way to just kind of work around it if it happened, or even just to skip it altogether. But we got GameStop back in the news a couple times, actually. It's not about stocks or anything like that. But it looked like GameStop was like, hey, we're going to try out something new here, get some new eyes going on. So they were pulling out all the stops, if you will. I know. I was waiting all day to say that. But they announced this week that they will be selling PC gaming hardware on its online stores, which is pretty smart, one would think. Funny enough, though, if you go to their page, they have an RTX 30 series cards as advertised, right? But if I gave you a glimmer of hope, I'm sorry to break it to you, they don't have them either. So the day they announced they're selling PC parts, they're already sold out of the 3000 series. So yet another place that you could be disappointed in your journey to look for a GPU. But we'll see if that actually helps any efforts moving forward by having more PC hardware. It says online only on their digital stores, and it sounded like maybe select brick and mortar stores might have a little something if you live in an area where a GameStop might actually, I guess, be a little large. I feel like all the ones I've ever been into were like in a mall or a strip mall of some. I've never seen a standalone GameStop. I'm sure they exist.
Right.
I've just never seen it personally and been inside and shopped. But we'll see if that changes them to digital only after, I assume in like 3 years they're all going to be shut down at this rate, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Good old Reggie, though. I'm sure you saw that. He's done, man.
Yeah,
looks like he gave it a year's worth of an effort there, or whatever happened.
Yeah, I was about to say it had been a year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was after 1 year of service, almost to the date. Reggie Fils-Aime is stepping down from the GameStop board, and I actually believe he's already done. That it was during a board's meeting, and as of the time we're listening to this right now, he's enjoying his retired life maybe somewhere. But to be fair, he is one of 8 directors who were set to retire, so sounds like actually a bunch of them. So when reading through it, seems the newest members will be the ones left, and the more established ones are the ones retiring and leaving along with Reggie. So I can't find anything super juicy as to why, but we may not even need an explanation because we've all been present for the last several years. But I guess for his service and giving it an effort, whatever it was. So we'll just see if he can stay retired because he's still young, man. Like, I don't, I feel like we got to see him doing other things. Uh-oh.
People, I'm sure you heard that.
I didn't actually, but I was like, the look on your face, I already knew. I was like, somebody's blaring music or something.
No, it's the hot rods that drive down this road. Do you need a vehicle that loud?
No, it's just showing off. It's like, guys.
And there's so many of them. I don't understand it. Why
is the weather nice?
Yeah, for the first time today, the sun finally came out. Yeah, for the last
motorcycles too.
What was it? Practically the last 2 days. Thursday. Yeah, I know we're getting off on a tangent. Go to hell.
That's what we do.
Thursday we had a thunderstorm roll in. It was one of those, tornado watches. Woo 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 woo, and everything's just going crazy. Nothing happened. And I should not be so dismissive of it.
I grew up in a tornado alley, though, so it kind of been like, if the sky wasn't green yet, we were fine.
Mm-hmm. I've been lucky thus far. Let's just say that. And hopefully my luck will continue.
Right.
And then, of course, yesterday, it was constant thunderstorms. It was just off and on all day. The sun never came out, but the rain hardly ever stopped, but the thunder was constant throughout. So by the end of the night, I was like, thunder, I'm done. I'm tired of hearing you today. So if you could,
I said good day.
Yeah. Out. But whatever. It's just so tired. And then of course now the sun's got to come out, which I'm grateful for, But then, hey, guess what's coming back in a couple of days? Rain.
Right. Yeah.
Rain.
Yeah.
So.
Gonna waste your whole day off having to do stuff outside because it's nice.
Yeah, probably.
Oh,
I had other
adulting.
things to do.
Adulting.
Woo!
Did you see that one yet?
Which
We'll see
one?
the videos. Yeah, all right.
No.
Well, it's
Okay, go ahead.
George.
Go ahead.
Adulting.
Sorry.
Anyway, sorry. Quoting other things that maybe some of you know. Anyway, back to games.
Uh-huh.
Game stuff. Sony, man, they're shutting down a bunch of stores, it looks like, man. Like, I'm kind of beside myself on this one. Although, I guess it's not officially announced yet, but it's a bummer to hear. Digital world these days seems like we're just not going to have that game preservation as I was kind of hoping we'd have a little bit of. But Sony announced it'll be shutting down stores dealing with the PSP and PS3 starting July 2nd. And the Vita store on August 27th. They will be gone. If you have them, great. If not, you will not be able to purchase them apparently physically or digitally past those dates. So, I mean, they're making it sound like here, if you got the game, you better download it, find some other memory cards or whatever it is that you need to do to ensure that you still have access to it, because it's kind of up in the air whether that service will just keep running for you to be able to grab and digitally download it again in the future. This is something I've always been concerned about moving into digital age. How many times have I said, what happens if Steam shuts down?
Yeah.
I have like 2,000 games I just wouldn't have access to anymore. In theory, that could happen, right? Like nothing's forever. So apparently after these dates, you won't be able to purchase digital copies on the platforms for anybody. So you're done here. So go ahead.
No, I was just go ahead and finish your story. I just got
I was just going to reiterate. So if you're really concerned that now is the time to get all of that backed up and put away, most journalists pointed to the fact that they weren't really surprised with this because some of Jim Ryan's past comments kind of alluded to the fact that playing older games just doesn't seem to be something he's interested in preserving or even understanding why other people would. One of the comments that was quoted was, and this is from Jim Ryan, when we've dabbled with backwards compatibility, I can say it is one of those features that is much requested but not actually used much. So that, and I was given a Gran Turismo event recently where they had PS1, PS2, 3, and 4 games, he continued, and they looked ancient. Like, why would anyone play this? Was his words. So I guess we shouldn't be surprised because it didn't sound like he really cared about preserving the old ones because they're too not as pretty anymore. So why would anyone want to play it?
Yeah. I can actually agree with that to a point. Like I feel like we should preserve them. I feel like they should be kept somewhere and protected. But I kind of have to agree with that. That I don't really use backward compatibility.
You don't go back.
I mean, I'm doing it now because. You know, I have a PlayStation 5 and I have PS4 games I just haven't got to play yet. And, you know, there aren't enough 5 games out there for me to really play. Yeah. So, you know, it just, I mean, it's a matter of circumstance right now. Now, fast forward however many years, 5 years down the road, am I going to go back to a PlayStation 4 game? I don't know. I mean, my time is very limited as it is, so I feel like my games are just on a rotation. Rarely do I ever go back unless they put out a polished version and say, here's something that's old but new. Yeah, you want to play it? And it's like, yeah, I kind of do. Because you've done it.
You're right.
You made it look so much better.
Yeah.
And now I want to go back to it.
I mean, I guess you make a good point. I think it just more saddens me that I don't know that there's not much more interest in preserving some of these because, you know, it's still a piece of the history in the way for you to observe. But yeah, you're probably right. Because even now that I'm thinking back on it, the amount of times I've like used a backwards compatible game. Although I've always done Sony, and to be fair, they've never really been good at backwards compatibility anyway. So I don't know that I've ever really had the chance to play an older game on the new one because they always say it's going to happen and then it doesn't.
Well, you know what they should do?
2, they tried it with 1, and that was awful. I think only like the blue-backed ones would work, or vice versa. I can't remember.
Yeah. Something I feel like they should do, and I don't know how this would technically work through video games medium, since everybody has a different console and things like that. But I feel like with Steam, there should be something kind of like that Movies Anywhere app, where you can link all your accounts through, whether it's Epic, Steam, GOG, whatever it is, wherever you got all your games, and then that way it's all combined for PC gamers. So should one shut down, you could possibly still have access somewhere else.
Yeah.
I think that would be cool. But that may not be feasible. I don't know. As far as Sony not wanting to preserve, they should at least preserve these games maybe on the PlayStation Now platform. That way they're there and they're accessible to those who may want to play them, backward compatible. But that way you're not having to really do much more than that, other than just being like, here, there they are if you want to play them. If you don't, who cares?
Well, now with all of this, it's becoming more blatantly obvious how we're basically just renting a license for access for however long they want. You don't really own any of these mediums anymore.
Right.
Like, that's why I've still held on to all of my physical copies for anything, and I still like to get them if they're available. Granted, as a PC player, I've relinquished the physical copy a long time ago because they just don't sell them in stores. Like, you don't go into Best Buy anymore and have aisles dedicated to PC games. There's probably like one corner with those slot 5 garbage things that you get, or like Sudoku or whatever. And that's about all that's left in brick and mortar stores. So I had to move to digital a long time ago by force. I didn't have a say in the matter. So anyway, if preserving these things are something you're definitely interested in, just letting you know now, if you're in these era of games and you have access to them and it's important to you, looks like you're going to have to take it one step further and try to figure out how you can preserve it for yourself, because you won't have access to re-download it. But let's talk about fun things devs do to cheaters.
Okay.
Because like I always love these stories when they find good ways to like be a dick back to cheaters. But Outriders, it's been a popular game. People have been playing the demo all over the place. But they've outed in a recent dev blog how they plan to actually deal with cheaters. Now, keep in mind, this game is only co-op.
Okay.
All right. So it will earn you a nice little watermark across your UI that calls you a cheater. Discreet but visible watermark on your UI that just won't go away, just to be annoying to the cheater. Now take it one step further. Since it's a watermark over your UI, who do you think they're targeting? Who would see it on a screen?
The other players.
The content creators who stream and record their content. So guess what, streamers? You're not going to be able to cheat through this game and then throw up a picture of how all your hard grinding work got you all of this gear, because they're going to brand you. And I don't see a way that you're going to be able to take it off your screen. So I guess you're just going to have to earn it legitimately. I love how I'm saying that like every single streamer is just a big cheater and never earns anything. But for funsies. All right? Satire. But anyway, so it does seem like that's who they're kind of more marketing towards with this particular one, although it will come with a lot more stiff matchmaking. So you'll get thrown in with other cheaters. So if there's not that many of you, it sounds like you're just going to have a bad time trying to get a match together to even play. But since the game's launch on the demo, the dev has identified about 200 cheaters out of 2 million players. So not so bad, right? Not so bad. The math is like less than 1%, of course, of the player base. So imagine trying to get a match with 0.01 of the player base. Just saying. Lots of reasons to not cheat here. So what they consider cheating, because again, with it being a co-op game, probably if you're not playing a lot of cooperative online games, you might be thinking like, how in the hell would I cheat here? Since you're not PvP in it, but if you modify game files to enhance a character, like making leveling or your skills faster or inventory items, externally modifying game time to reduce time-dependent features like vendors and challenges. So if you're the type that likes to skip your PlayStation ahead 2 or 3 hours to fake the game out, or however you would modify it to, change it, because I'm not a modder, so I don't really know how to do all those things, but or using a trainer program or similar to gain advantages, and using gameplay altering programs such as aimbots or wall hacks. So these are what they are considering cheating. If they catch you, anyway, they did give cheaters of the demo hope, though. All right. So People Can Fly, who is the team, also issued a warning to beta cheaters who'd like to get back on their good graces, maybe before the full game actually launches. So their response to you is, if you cheated during the demo just to try it out, but wish to go to the main game unbranded, just delete all your characters and items on your entire account and wipe the slate clean and start over, and we will let you back in.
Nice.
Love it. I want to go play this game now just for this. Just for this. I love it. So yeah, so just go deleting all your stuff, and then you can come back in. Yeah, you just got to start all over. All that work you did. Well, work in quotes, I guess, if you were cheating. What work did you do?
Oh yeah.
And I figure we'll end the news on just a little bit of the BAFTA awards, because those were doled out this week, and we got some fun winners. Probably the same culprits we were expecting, but some good ones to go around. Now, I'm not going to sit here and go over absolutely every single category, but it does appear, of course, Last of Us 2 did a little bit of cleanup there. Laura Bailey got her nods, of course, for her performance, and it looks like the game itself for animation got an award. So GG, well done. Hades cleaning up over here, it seems like, as well. They got it for artistic achievement. Have you played that? I feel like that would be a game you'd get into.
It is one of those on my radar. I just know I've not gotten around to it. I do need to. I feel like there was another one that
they got best game too, Hades.
Yeah. I knew there was something about it.
Yeah, and game design.
So what's that other one that is coming out? Oh, the Disco Elysium was the other one.
Oh, yeah. That one. No. Any moment now, I think. I'm going to have to go check.
All right.
But anyway. Yeah, their upgraded version. But yeah, that's one you're going to have to go play too. Ghost of Tsushima got for audio, which is good. I mean, that's a fantastic looking game. So and you've played it. You've said it deserves all of the stuff it gets. Last of Us it looks like Game of the Year, which is not surprising, but Dreams got for technical achievement, which I think, nice. I feel like that one came and went too fast for all the stuff that it could do. I still am very impressed with it. I'm very impressed with it, especially with just the creativity allowed other players to have in creating your own stuff. And once they started doing with VR too, I never dove in full head like I should have. But the concept is amazing. And so I'm happy I got a little accolades there too. And then oddly enough, a Sea of Thieves for evolving game, which I guess...
Sure.
I mean, it's definitely made some upgrades and all this kind of stuff. I mean, that other one I don't think's ever coming out.
Yeah. I was thinking
Skull
that
and
just...
Bones. Skull and Bones. Yeah, like I think that was just a JK kind of game. Like we were thinking about it, but So yeah, if you want to go check out the other BAFTA award winners, of course they did more stuff than just games, but that's all we were going to check out right there. They have the official press release for all of it there. Most of them is stuff we've actually said congratulations to already several times for this last year. So GG, well done to all of the winners. And I'm yanking my earbuds out of my ear. So I'm stepping on wires. And I can't hear you because I unplugged it. Yeah. So I'm sure he has all sorts of fun stuff.
I'm just going to keep talking.
There we go. Now I have sound. I wonder what it's like to be in a wireless world. One day, maybe. Now some quick hits. How about just some quick hits?
All right, what you got?
Stepping on everything over here. Rumors about the next gen Switch, which we've already kind of talked about a little bit here. We knew about the 7-inch screen, 720p OLED, DLSS equipped for the better CPU, but they're also using the graphics chips in the 2021 upgrade, NVIDIA graphics chips. I don't know. More powerful docked mode coming your way. The DLSS makes smart upgrade possible, bringing the graphics to 11 with the power of 11.
What?
You know, so it's not just constantly upgrading everything. So yeah, if you're excited about a more powerful, prettier looking dock mode, sounds like that's what's coming down the pike with our next Switch too.
Okay. I mean, they should have done that to begin with, but all right.
Well, Nintendo's never been like the most powered for
I know.
sure.
They tried. You know? There was a time they attempted that. They were like, no, we got to be powerful. And then eventually they were like, fuck it.
You
Who
know
cares?
what? Like, people like our games the way they are. And then this dumb rumor, I don't know if it's true or not, about Microsoft wanting to buy Discord. Like, what?
I could see it, but
I feel like it's just like this weird rumor gone awry, because the more I kept reading about it, it seems like this was just something people was like, hey, you know who should buy Discord? But the rumor was Microsoft was looking to buy Discord to the tune of like $10 billion. Microsoft didn't start this rumor, though, but Discord does appear to have been shopping around. So I think people started to try to make their own conclusions because they're thinking of going public, I suppose. So now there isn't anything solid about whether Microsoft was seriously looking into Discord or if Discord even seriously wants to sell. But again, they may want to go public in the end. So I'm starting to feel like from all the different articles I read, it was just journalists trying to find stories to write, because it doesn't seem like anything solid has been talked about in this regard at all. So unless something has changed at the time of this writing, the only thing concrete I could find was that Discord was shopping around and toying with the idea of going public. There was no real company in talks with it, although I've seen a lot of people go, Sony needs it more, and maybe, I don't know, but that's a whole other story. It's not actually happening, so as of yet. But we got some news too. Back for Blood, the newest title from the makers of Left 4 Dead, has officially been pushed back to October 12th of this year as the release window. So if that was when you were looking at, as I said, 2021, I think is going to be the year where we see most of the delays happening. I don't know. I'm excited for it, although I've got plenty to play. So it's not like I'm chomping at the bit, but if you were looking forward to it, it got pushed back a little bit. But for funsies, if you were looking for some free stuff to play on your PS4 and 5, Sony's Play at Home 2021 put up 9 titles for PS4 and VR, free to claim for a limited time. So you get some new games here available through April 22nd, or now through April 22nd. An assortment of indies like Abzu and Enter the Gungeon, and for VR, Moss and Thumper. Both fun games.
Moss. I've been wanting to play that one, and that one was the one I was most excited for.
Yeah, I might have to check that out with the VR one. I played the demo. That came with it. I want to say there was a demo that was on one of those days or whatever. But then you can also get games like Res Infinite, Subnautica, The Witness, Astrobot Rescue Mission, and Paper Beast. So keep in the back of your mind also, Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition will be available for PS4 players on April 19th through May 14th. So we've got some cool big games for free coming your way.
Woo woo.
Pick those up. There's some quality games in there, man. Oh, and this one's great. I don't know. Have you just like had too much money this year?
Oh yeah.
Like
just so much.
I need to. Okay, well, I've got a perfect way for you to just blow that then. Because like for those, I know so many people this whole year was just like, oh my God, what am I going to do with all of these millions of dollars? Well, right now on a website, Heritage Auctions has a seller with a sealed copy of the original Mario Brothers from Nintendo. It's from the mid-production of the game between 86 and 87, and even has the perforated cardboard hang tab still attached. Remember when they used to come in those big plastic that took that huge knuckles keys to open it up so you could get your game out? Yeah, still in that bad boy. So last I checked, the bidding was up to $310,000.
Wow.
from what I can tell, I think that's the most expensive game ever sold. People were trying to say second best. Now, correct me, siblings, because I couldn't find one that had sold for more than that. The closest I could find was a sealed copy of Super Mario Bros. 3, which sold for around 150,000. And then if you want to go to not games, the Nintendo PlayStation console that was on concept for a minute. Yeah. Which didn't work out. The prototype of that console sold for $380,000. So if we're talking just in games. But again, siblings, if you know where it's at, and I just don't know how to Google, this right now, from what I can tell, would be the highest selling like old vintage sealed copy game in history. In history. So there you go. I think it was still going on through April 4th. So there you go, guys. If you just got too much money, let's see if we can get this up to like $500,000. I know all of you listening. It's just like so baller.
Yeah.
Right? But
yeah,
that's kind of cool to see, though. Like, all the nostalgia from what it was, seeing the whole, like, when you used to pull it off the rack like that and look at it. And, yeah. Anyway. So remember a little while back when I reported about Razer brand making face masks?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, like it's a real thing, apparently, now, for sure.
Okay. Good.
They did announce plans a while back. I know that we were talking about that they wanted to do their own N95 mask that you could see through. Well, now it's called Project Hazel. And I think it's interesting that now we're going to put this forth because, like, with vaccinations ramping up and all of this kind of stuff, that they're just now putting out this rechargeable, cleanable, RGB lighting N95 mask. But it does promise to eliminate 95% of airborne particles and a wireless charging case that includes a UV sterilizer. So there you go.
Wow.
Scratch resistant, waterproof for when you need to go swimming in your mask. Airtight seal, cooling features. It's clear so people can see your face.
Sure.
And lighting and a microphone so you can sound like a, I don't know, bad guy in the grocery store.
Why not?
And it has a low light mode. So when you put a glow in the dark, I don't know. I don't understand. It's probably going to be like an insane amount of money that I can't even imagine wanting to pay for.
It just seems like a little much, but okay. Okay.
I don't know why that got me so bad just now, but all right. Well, best wishes on that one. So I guess you get like a little cyberpunky vibe, for when it happens again, I guess in the future. But a happier one, Ghost of Tsushima movie is in the works. I don't know if you saw that. Chad Stahelski, who's the director of John Wick, and Sucker Punch Productions. Like, so now I'm excited. I like John Wick.
Yeah.
It's just going to be fun. There isn't a whole lot to go on right now. But of course, the ambassadors of Tsushima are very excited to have Chad on board and see how awesome these action sequences are going to be.
I want them to make sure, because I'd say with him on board, we already know the actions are going to be top notch. So with that said, make the movie look beautiful. Just like the game. Make sure you capture the beauty of Tsushima and do it right. That's all I ask.
Actually have a lot of faith with it in these hands. Because as much as they've done with the game already and how much just the actual people there in Tsushima have given attaboys for how well they've represented and brought eyes to it and everything. So who knows? There might be even more panic to make sure it is really good now, since like I said, they're ambassadors for the island and all this kind of stuff. So it's on you guys. Gotta make it good.
Don't do any of that stupid video game crap either. Don't try to shoehorn in something that happens in the game. Just tell a good story, period.
It is supposed to be the same protagonist following them and all that kind of stuff. So it didn't sound like they were, and all of this could change. Obviously, this is like still early talks and everything, but so far that's what we know, and I'm here for it. Oh no, more games ending. I should have put this up at the top with the rest of it, but Super Mario Maker seems to have met its end now too, a little before the expected time. The OG Super Mario Maker bookmark website where you could do all that, is to close. I didn't realize this was scheduled to close the same day Mario was due to die. Did you hear about Mario's death date?
Yeah, what is it? All his games are being pulled from the stores or what have you.
Yeah, so apparently March 31st, the internet decided that was the day Mario's just dead. He's dying. But to be clear, this is only the Wii U title. Just to make sure everybody knows, it's the Wii U title, which appears to be one of the few listed games being delisted. So, of course, since people won't miss a step, Super Mario 3D All-Stars is already being scalped because of its soon unavailability. So all these Mario games that are getting delisted, people are hopping on it. But it'll be unavailable physically or digitally either. So again, I guess if you own that Wii U copy and play it, you won't be able to go to the website and do all that stuff. Apparently that's already gone. People were expecting that to happen on the 31st, but they pulled it soon. I think 31st was just this arbitrary date the internet made up. I couldn't find any proof that Nintendo was like, yep, 31st. I think the internet just doing what it does, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, man. But okay. And lastly, on March 26th, Jonathan Warner announced it was his last day at BioWare, who was the director for Anthem, which I guess we shouldn't be too surprised. But there you go. He has had a decade-long career with the company, though, and best wishes. So he's leaving Dragon Age, Mass Effect, SWOTAR, all those, hopefully in good hands. I don't know. Dragon Age is one I've been excited for, but the more I keep hearing stuff back and forth, I just have to wait. At this point because I'm still not convinced they're going to do it right. That they're going to do it from how it started.
No, I would
best wishes.
I would be hesitant as well.
Yeah. Still can't believe they were trying to do an online Dragon Age. I don't know why I'm whispering that.
I can.
Guys. Stop. Well, they've had EA's had a horrible week. I didn't really go into a lot of detail with them because this is just nothing new anymore with them. Their microtransactions
and fuck EA. So
right?
continue.
They've had an even more garbage week. It's to the point where I feel like I don't even want to report on it anymore because I think it would be more newsworthy if I ever heard good deeds coming out of you. Oh, they fixed the Sims packs. I'm sure all of you were worried about it, that nickel and dime stuff that they're giving out to you or whatever. And then this is hilarious, then they did bunk beds and then it was broken and then the next day modders had it fixed. See what I mean? PC gamers have to fix their own crap and it's getting out of control. Anyway,
kudos
that's all I have.
Kudos to all the hackers out there for doing the job.
You're doing good work. I'm very happy that we do have that in the community, and I know that can be frustrating for console people because we do. I'm one of those dirty people who just takes because I don't know how to create them. But I support some of my people on Patreon that do the really big ones. I get you deserve it, and the fact you were willing to give it away for free impresses the crap out of me in the first place. Maybe it's easier than I think it is, but regardless, it's still a lot of your life that you're letting us have for free, and I appreciate it. I modded my Cyberpunk to my liking too because I didn't know why they did choices that they made in the game, and I hated it. Why, when I squat, does it get dark?
I don't know.
I'm just letting you know. Every time I've squatted in real life, I could still see the same amount of stuff in front of me. My vision doesn't get dark and close in. Okay. So yeah, I downloaded a mod and got rid of that crap. What is this?
It makes sense.
Anywho, but that's all the news and a little bit of quickets, and I'm excited for what you have for us today.
All right. Well, before I hop into the headliner, I have one little bit of what I'd like to call weird news.
Oh,
I don't know if you saw this, but I stumbled upon it. I don't know how this happened, but I figured I would take note because this is something I found on Twitter. The best place to find drama.
Oh, totally. That's where I get all my news.
And I was fascinated by what I saw. It took me a minute to kind of catch up with the story. And then I guess I saw Twitter doing good things for once.
Yeah, there we go.
So I didn't get names, so I apologize. But I'm sure you start digging into it, you're going to stumble upon it. So on Twitter, there was a an artist who drew Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles.
Okay.
But he drew them, or she drew them. I didn't quite catch that either. The artist, I'll just say that. The artist drew them in human form. Okay? So they have human characteristics, but then taking like Knuckles' hair or Sonic spikes and stuff like that and finding a way to incorporate a human element while still looking like their animal counterpart in some way. Some person, the other person, seemed to take offense that all of the characters were white. Okay?
Oh.
Because this artist drew all three characters and they were all white.
Why
So-
not blue and pink, though, to be fair? I mean, I don't know that
Well, it was the Caucasian skin, but, elements, colors of
like
the
that
clothes
might have been
and
blue
maybe the
or
hair and
something.
stuff like that. Yeah. But they were white. So this person took it upon themselves to recolor Knuckles black. And then
We're not
reposts
starting that thing again, are we?
and then reposts it on Twitter and says, "There, fixed it for you." So what this did is set off a chain reaction of people on Twitter coming to the defense of the artist, the original artist, saying, "What the hell do you mean fixed it for you? Who said Knuckles was black? Where is that in canon? He's an animal."
Right, they're not even humans.
Yeah. He's red, if anything. I said, so where do you get off assuming and making assumptions to that, or implying that this character is black? But not only that, who are you to destroy and correct someone's artwork?
Right.
That's not you have no right. This was their vision. This is what they drew. You don't know any better. So you can't
Make
just
your
go
own
around
vision.
fixing someone's art.
Yeah.
And it was just like a tirade of people coming to the defense of the original artist. And it was good to see, there were people of color saying, I'm not offended by this. It doesn't matter.
Okay, so was it a person of color who fixed the artwork?
No.
Of course. See, this is my problem with it. Why? I feel like the people who shouldn't be are the ones trying so hard to be.
Yeah.
To perform to look like an ally or something. But, I don't have any right to be mad over something that doesn't affect me when the people who should have been or would have been affected aren't.
Yeah. See, it would be like me getting angry at... Okay, great example. I know this is like reaching in the way back. But this is like me being angry that they cast Michael Clark Duncan, a large black man, as the Kingpin in the original Daredevil movie in 2003. Because, Kingpin is white, traditionally in the comics.
Oh.
And they cast a large black man who has the look. He's just black. And that's me, but... He's not. It doesn't matter. No.
I always have to laugh when people get mad about their fictional characters being changed.
Doesn't matter.
I'm just like, all right, you guys
Like,
waste energy on that now.
I say, like, I've tried to argue this point, and it gets into tricky waters, especially for me being white. See, it's all about race today. I've talked to people about, I know I've had this conversation with someone before and said, well, hey, why can't Peter Parker be black? And I do get that. But I like the idea of Miles Morales more than I do Peter Parker being black. Because...
make it their own character.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. So you're not hinging all of his life and details of who Peter Parker was and just doing a color swap. You're saying, no, this is Miles Morales. He is also that character too, but he has his own history. He has his own characters. He has... Everything's different, but he is still Spider-Man.
Right.
I think that's where I have this issue with swapping races. Now, for some characters, it doesn't matter. Like, I can probably take it or leave it where it's just like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But some more established characters, I feel taking that element and creating someone new who can be the very same in a way, but a new history.
Would it be that same relatability? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, this is coming from obviously, I'm a person, I've seen my representation in movies and these medias my whole life, you know. But, like, would they have the same background? Probably not. I know, again, we're still talking about a fictional place, a fictional world, and all this kind of stuff, but would we have the same elements growing up?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah.
You know?
And I feel like
for more relatability from the group who would, you know, that representation would matter so much for, it would probably have to be adjusted for that, right?
Yeah.
It's not the same walk of life.
And that's why I like where Marvel started introducing new, younger versions of familiar characters, because that gave them an opportunity to say, okay, well, this is the next generation of these characters that you all know and love. The others are still here. They're just older, you know, and they're moving on with their lives. But here's a new batch, and they are represented in different facets. So they are the more diverse, if there ever was. If you start looking at characters like Ms. Marvel, who, if you don't know who she is, my God, she is a fascinating, lovely character. And I cannot wait until she gets her series on Disney+. Yeah. And I hope they do it justice, because she is a great character. And I hope she gets the same amount of love on screen than she does, or as she does in the comics, because she's a well-beloved character. So she kind of has this Captain Marvel-esque connection, but she's doing her own thing. And she's a kid. And she comes from a Muslim background. So the beauty of that character is they didn't shy away from that. They incorporate that in the stories. Like, I was sitting there reading like a string of her books, and they're talking about her culture, her life, all this stuff. Things I don't know anything about, but I'm learning through her. Yeah. And I appreciated that. That's
maybe
nice.
Makes you want to go educate yourself further on the specifics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you get to see
Hopefully.
you get to see how she lives. It's not just, oh, well, she's, you know, I don't want to say what her race is because I don't remember. I feel terrible.
What's that?
Ms. Marvel. Kamala Khan is her name. I cannot remember where her family originates from. So I don't want to say.
Sure.
And get it wrong. But they didn't just say, well, hey, she's from fill in the blank. They and then she just lives in New York. It's like, no. Or, well, she lives in New Jersey. I remember that.
Yeah, there we go.
But they incorporate...
Which is like a whole other world for us.
Right? But they incorporate all these other elements of her life. You know, they don't just stop at, hey, color swap, boom. It's like, no. This element, that element, that element. And they make it part of who she is, and that to me is beautiful.
Right.
So that's why I have some issues with color swaps. I know that you'll never see a black character become white. Never happen. You talk about the shitstorm that'll start there? Yeah.
And we don't need it, though, to be fair, dude.
Yeah. I guess if you're going to do that, like you were talking about, find the elements that would be different and incorporate that into the story.
And, of course, if get more people of color in the writing room, and we won't have all of these issues. Mm-hmm. They'll be able to write from a place of understanding and background that we can't. Yeah. No matter how much we want to say we can, we can't. And so let those stories be told in the correct way.
And I don't know if you heard this or not. This is a little off topic, but on the subject, there was an announcement about a Superman movie being made, a new one with J.J. Abrams involved. But the writer who's also involved is, I cannot remember his name because he's got one of those long names, but he wrote Black Panther. People are kind of connecting dots thinking, are we going to have a black Superman? And you know what? I'd be interested to explore that, but with the aspect of like, okay, what does that mean? Okay, so if you're shifting gears and saying, all right, Superman's black, what does that mean in the context of the larger story? Because he shows up in the 1950s in a pod in the middle of Kansas, and white folks find him.
That's going to be a different setup for sure.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So don't just copy and paste.
Yeah.
Tell that story, add some elements to it that really mix it up and really give it its own flavor.
Yeah, I'm here for that. And it's a new story to hear.
Yeah.
Come
Exactly.
on, you know, like, let's I'm all for exploring those avenues.
So
It's going to be a much more interesting story from something that I could come up with from what I understand and know. Let's do something new.
But you're always gonna have those people who are just like, fuck you.
Oh yeah, and I think we just need to stop giving them credence, honestly, because like it doesn't matter in the long run. Like if you're losing your mind
Fictional
over
characters.
a fiction, exactly. like I even remember when they changed Doctor Who to a woman. It's just like, I'm sorry, did the original Doctor Who have a problem with it? The one that's in our history books that we learn about every year in school? Oh, no, it's made up? Okay.
Dr. Who can't be a woman.
My poor little lady brain couldn't possibly figure this stuff out. I'm so glad y'all are here to help me out.
All right, well, we got off on a tangent as usual, so let me get back on track here with our headliner.
Games!
Today. I don't know if you remember the 90s. Do you remember the 90s?
I was around, I think, yeah.
I mean, it was an
All of
interesting
them.
decade. It was
It was.
interesting for me, mainly because I was discovering myself as I grew into a teenager, not in the way that you think, but, hey, as a teenager.
As you do.
Yeah, things were happening. But during this time, my brain was rife with ideas and creative endeavors that I kind of wanted to explore. I had notebooks upon notebooks of ideas and stories to tell, just writing and coming up with all sorts of crazy stuff. And many of these ideas spawned due to a love of comic books and cartoons. But there was always one form of animation that fascinated me and still does to this day. That is clay animation. Or claymation, if you want to go that route. I think that's copyrighted, but we'll get to that.
All right. Well, we're sorry. Here's a penny. I don't know. What do we do in this case?
I just brought it up. I'm not stealing it.
Okay. Claymation TM.
There you
Is
go.
that called? I don't know.
Now, my first exposure to this style of animation was probably from do you remember the old California Raisins commercials?
Oh, yes, I do. Yeah. I used to collect them in my Mickey D's. Thank you very much.
That's right. And I used to always be fascinated with those. And then they had those little California Raisin specials. There was a Christmas special where everyone was singing stuff, and I just loved it.
CCR just popped into my head.
And not only the California Raisins, but I also kind of feel like Gumby may have been something that I was. I'm not quite sure, but somewhere in that same vein, I was
gonna say that's older, I think. Much.
Yeah, older, but it was still kind of there. So one of the two was probably my first exposure, seeing it and being like, that's cool. Mm-hmm. But I was always drawn more to the Raisins. I really didn't get into Gumby all that much. Mm-hmm. And Will Vinton, the guy that created the California Raisins and all that stuff. You take a look at his animation style. He's the guy who developed claymation, and his eye for detail. Just, oh man, it's so good. I mean, you guys, you have no idea. Just thinking about it.
Yeah, and especially then.
Yeah, exactly.
Y'all, we were taking pictures.
Mm-hmm.
They'd move their hand a little bit, do another one. Like it was dedication. It's crazy.
And I know that there's stop motion animation, and it's kind of the same thing, but clay is a different beast to deal with.
That is true.
And he's not a hack. I mean, this is a guy who took this style and I felt like turned it into a real genuine art form. Mm-hmm. Because you take a look at his character models and designs and just so good. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Will Vinton or the Raisins. Instead, I want to look back on a game series that I feel like had so much potential to be something bigger and better and more unique than it ever became, and one that I sought out because they promised clay animation in a video game, a fighting game no less, something I was a huge fan of, It was also published by a studio that we recently talked about on the show, and one that had my attention, which was Interplay. And we are, of course, talking about Clay Fighter, developed by Visual Concepts. Now, right off the bat, this sounded like a fantastic idea that could go the distance. One, it was a fighting game in the 90s, because there were plenty of them in the 90s, and we didn't have a shortage of those. Two, there was a unique style that was all of its own with the use of clay animation. Three, you had a very unique marketing campaign that parodied other popular fighting games at the time, like Street Fighter. Four, you had a roster of characters that stood out amongst its peers. In some of the other games, you have these color swap, palette swap characters, at least one in the game. So, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Ryu, Ken, you're going to have that one guy that's just like that other person. It's just like, yeah, but it's not. Come on, man. Yeah. Every character in this was unique. They all had their own style. They all had their own look. There was no color swapping, palette swapping, whatever. 5, it was a game that could appeal to a wide audience, especially in the wake of Mortal Kombat's blood controversy, where everybody was getting into a tizzy about violence in video games. Yeah. Well, these
We're
are
all murdering each other. And
cartoonish clay characters, there's no blood to be seen, and they're just gonna fall apart into clay. This had the makings of a surefire hit, And any decent fighting game knows that you must have some semblance of a story to support the reasons to fight. Here, we have a meteor made from clay, crash lands in the middle of a circus. A mysterious goo from the meteor contaminates the circus, transforming all of its attractions into bizarre caricatures of their former selves. So, you have a clown who's now a clay clown, I guess, or whatever.
Is this a horror game?
So who are these characters? All right, so first of all, we have Blob, who is just that. He's just a big green piece of clay with eyes and a mouth. I feel like they were just like, hey, let's keep it simple. He's a big blob of...
Let's have one character I don't have to animate too much.
Yeah, he's that.
Yeah.
Then we have Taffy, who is a piece of taffy with arms and legs and eyes and a mouth.
Nice.
Then you have Tiny, who is the big, dumb, muscle-headed type, just gigantic, kind of guy. Then you have Blue Suede Goo, who is
That's cute.
an Elvis impersonator with a super-powered pompadour. So his, hair just like a whip.
Oh!
Then you have Ichabod Clay, who is a pumpkin-headed specter.
So great.
Bonker the Clown, who's just, goofy clown.
Okay.
You have Helga the Viking, who is a Viking with a very loud operatic singing voice.
Breaks their eardrums maybe by singing. I don't know.
And lastly, the face of the franchise, at least I feel like he is, Bad Mr. Frosty, who's a snowman with an attitude. But he's got his nice little top hat.
Oh, he's still very proper and dapper.
That he is. Now, never has there been such a wide swath of unique characters in one place. At least I can't think of any. How exactly does this process work? Exactly, this wasn't a show or a movie. This is a game. So how do you create clay characters in a game? So Visual Concepts, the developer behind the game, took the idea to Danger Productions, where they spent several months molding various positions for each character. Now, some characters require different types of clay to get the movements and the shapes just right. Some required more frames of motion than others. Once the models were actually then completed, they were animated using stop-motion photography, like we mentioned, because that's what you got to do. And they used a camera that was then connected to an Amiga computer, which would then digitize the figures using a graphics editor.
Damn.
Yeah. But this was a very, 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 very lengthy process.
I can imagine.
So, while that was underway, Interplay actually stepped in and lent a hand, and they worked on sound design as well as the soundtrack for the game. So, Visual Concepts could focus on the the character aspects. They also created additional character movements using spliced animation sequences. So it kind of helped speed it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, the game released in November of 1993. Anybody remember that year? Yeah.
Good year. Couple of floods, I think.
Yeah, maybe. I feel like something around there. I don't remember. I feel like that was one of the years there was a snowstorm, either the beginning of that year or the beginning of the next year. I remember snow. Anyway. It released on the Super Nintendo to decent reviews and was pretty much considered a hit. In May of 1994, a special edition rental-only version was released at Blockbuster Video. You remember Blockbuster Video?
Oh my God, I feel we gotta talk. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I've been watching a lot of Blockbuster documentaries.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's
I have
one
seen those
left
around,
in
yeah.
Bend, Oregon.
Still, yeah, that's right.
Just one.
Wasn't that other one? Wasn't there one in Alaska, or was that one of my thinking?
Closed. But the
Yeah.
Bend, Oregon now has the jock strap.
Yep,
Apparently.
yep. Okay.
So yeah, it's still hanging on, man.
Won't be for long. Yeah, Blockbuster Video used to rent video games, and there was a deal cut where this special edition rental-only version of the game was released, and this is where it kind of gets a little like, This was actually considered the superior version of the two copies, mainly because they improved upon what they had done from the initial release. You know, fixed
What
any
you should do. Yeah.
bugs, polishes, and whatnot. So in June of 1994, the game ported over to the Sega Genesis, but they used the original game to port it over, so they didn't get like the new copy or what have you, because that would have been bogus.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Anyway, the Atari Jaguar was actually going to get a copy, but for some reason that never happened. So they kind of moved along.
Yeah.
Anyway, despite that, the company had a bona fide hit. It was like, yeah, clay fighter. You know, people are fighting and claying around, and we're excited. So what do you do when you have a bona fide hit? You rush out a sequel as fast as you can.
As humanly possible.
As humanly possible. How rushed are we talking here? Okay, remember I told you that we said it was a lengthy process to get the models, okay?
Uh-huh.
It probably took take a guess. How long do you think it probably took?
I mean, if we're doing a full game in the 90s, start to finish might be like 8 hours for the gameplay itself. Maybe, I don't know. Fighting games can go on forever.
No,
depending on how many animations they needed. I would say it would have taken at least, personally, like a year or longer. But games were made faster back then because they didn't have as much stuff to put in it. I'm just thinking of the actual...
Okay. But a year would be a good call.
Yeah,
okay.
At least.
For the first one. No.
Yeah.
We got this one done in 6 months.
What?
Yeah. First, we need a plot to build around, right? Okay, so here's what's happening this time.
Okay.
Now, on the outskirts of the circus where the meteor actually crashed, we meet Dr. Generic Kiln. That is Kiln. Kiln. Who learns of what has transpired, and he decides to go collect what remaining meteor goo he can find, and he's going to spread it all across the town of Mudville. That's where the circus was in Mudville. Who knew?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And with new fighters joining the fray, Kiln holds the C2 tournament to see if anyone is worthy enough to claim the title of Grandmaster, which is a title that he himself has bestowed upon himself. And
sure. As you do.
Fighting's gonna happen. Sound good?
In a grand fashion.
Yeah. Sound good?
It does sound kind of cute.
Okay. Now that's
the puns are strong.
Now, like most fighting games, there's usually a few returning favorites. Then you've got newcomers. So here we see the return of Blob and Tiny and Bad Mr. Frosty. And Blob kind of is a little more loose on his design. Bad Mr. Frosty Apparently he's been, in prison. He got thug life going on, so he's got the backward hat now. He's looking tough and chill and gangsta.
Glasses come down.
Yep.
Yep.
However, Tiny, his original model was just reused from the previous game. 6 months now. Keep that in mind.
That saved you time, I guess.
You'd think so, but that's not the reason why they did it. So I'll get to that. No. Oh, it gets so good. So Ichabod Clay was also planned to return, but was cut from the final roster. So you only got 3 returning fighters, and who fills the other 5 remaining spots? Okay.
So Blob was the only returning?
No, Blob, Tiny, and Bad Mr. Frosty.
Oh, okay.
So 5 new characters.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Nana Man, the Jamaican Banana Man.
Sigh.
You've got Kangoo, the boxing kangaroo, who, if you look at her bio, she apparently had a boxing career prior to these events. And she's
that's good.
And she's only joining the tournament because her fans would be pissed. Tell me.
That's the backstory. Her fans would have been mad that she didn't play in them.
Okay. You have Octo Head, the wild partying head with tentacles.
Okay.
Looks like an octopus, like you'd
Does he
expect.
whip his tentacles around his head to kill
They kind of work, and I don't know. It's weird. You just have to see him. Then you've got Goo Goo, the huge baby bad dude. He's a big baby who's also a criminal mastermind.
Oh, okay.
And then finally, you have Hoppy, the muscle-bound battle bunny, who is essentially Arnold Schwarzenegger but a rabbit from T2.
Oh. Okay.
And he became kind of the face of the game because he's got the sunglasses and the motorcycle and everything. But then you also have, Thug, Mr. Frosty over there looking at him like, yeah, I'm going to beat you or whatever. And then they just leaned into it all together and called this game C2 Judgment Clay. Okay. The game could have stopped there.
It could have.
But in an attempt to step it up, as it were, it added. I got my words. They just because I was looking at
who did it aid? What happened now?
They added 8. There we go. They added 8 additional characters that were evil versions of the other characters. So remember that palette swap thing that I said that the other game didn't do?
Yeah.
That's what they did here.
Oh,
They took
dear.
the 8 and then they said, okay, we're going to have 16, but they're just, the other 8 are going to be palette swaps of the other characters. Almost. Okay. Now I say almost because they could have just been simple color swaps because they basically are in a lot of ways. If you look at the colors, they're either darker, tweaked, or some pale comparison, whatever. But I will give them credit. Certain features on their faces were tweaked to give them somewhat more unique look. So they don't look exactly like them, but they kind of, it's them, but there's a minor tweak here and there.
Okay.
And they get new names to boot. So they all have their own backstories and stuff, and I won't even give you all that, but I'll give you their names so you heard what I said. You got Blob, Tiny, Mr. Frosty, Nana Man, Kangoo, Octo Head, Goo Goo, and Hoppy.
What about the banana guy?
That was Nana Man.
Oh, Nana Man.
Man.
Got it. Yeah.
All right, here are their evil counterparts. See if you can guess who's who. Ice.
Oh God, now it's like I'm trying to remember the names we just freaking said. I already forgot our names.
That would be
Fireman.
That would be Bad Mr. Frosty's.
Mr. Frosty.
yeah.
Yes.
And you got Butch.
Oh, see, I was trying to think of like the opposite. That's like the
No.
same. Mr.
Yeah.
Frosty and Ice.
Yeah, they're all the same.
I'm sorry, what was the next one?
Butch.
So the Tiny.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Slick.
Oh God. That's so I was trying to remember their names. Nana Man, because you slip on it.
You'd think so, but I don't think so.
You slip on the feel.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's Blob.
Blob. Oh, okay.
Spike.
I I need to have their names in front of me so I can forget that's why I'm failing at this game.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Because my memory is like...
Okay, well, I can't remember
20
who's
seconds.
who. I should have done this.
You want me to? And
I
you
did. I didn't
It's
do
your
it.
story.
Okay,
Jesus.
so
People.
Jack, I think, is maybe Kangu. Maybe.
Kangaroo Jack?
Spike could be Goo. Sarge.
Spike for a baby, eh?
Yeah. Sarge, I think, is Hoppy's alternate. Thunder
Okay.
would be... I don't know.
Is there rain?
Oh, no. Spike is the Octo Head, or Noah's
Oh,
Jack,
okay.
or whatever. I don't know. But
Those
you
people,
you
so,
you were asking about Nanaman.
Yeah.
He probably has the most clever name.
Is it clever or...
Well, you tell me. Are you ready for this? Can you take a guess? It's the most
the
creative.
opposite of Nanaman or
No.
equal to?
Right in the same wheelhouse. Because remember, they're evil versions.
Plantain Man?
Dr. Peelgood.
Oh, God. Okay, but that's kind of cute. I
See?
like it.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Now, this game was actually developed by Interplay, hence the speedy, process of everything.
Oh, wow.
They actually cut out visual concepts altogether, and they used an all-new set of programming tools. They even hired a new company to do the clay animations and stop motions. However, the company did a piss-poor job, because they're new and they don't know what they're doing.
And they did it in half the time.
Uh-huh. And it left a lot to be desired in the animation department. In fact, as previously mentioned, the model for Tiny was just reused from the original game. The reason it was being used was the team at Interplay wanted to test their new development tools and used the original sprites to incorporate him into C2 just to see how it was going to work.
Okay.
His inclusion actually bumped another new character that was going to be Lucy the Gorilla, but since they needed a decent model and, they were working at half the time, they just left him in. And the producer of the game, Jeremy Airy, has actually been on record to say that Tiny is the best looking character in this game. How sad is that?
No. We'll see. I gotta visualize here. Clay fighters.
Clay Fighter. Just over a year, Clay Fighter 2 released on the Super Nintendo in January of 1995. Reviews were kind, but, they were kind of complimenting some improvements on the gameplay, but clearly noted the drop in animation and illustration. Once again, we still had upgraded ports that were meant to be released on a different system. This time it was going to be the Sega 32X, but it was also canceled.
Oh, wow.
With a game that couldn't quite live up to the standards set by the original, the game came and went pretty quickly because I remember being disappointed by it. I was just like, okay. Because it just seems so ugly, compared to the original.
I mean, it is interesting. I'm now looking at a screenshot from it. It's definitely interesting.
Now,
Look and feel.
Yeah. Producer Jeremy Airy wasn't going to let this kill his beloved project because he liked Clay Fighter. He thought, I'm going to do it right. We're going to do this right, and we're going to do it again, but we're going to do it better this time. So he soon began working on a third entry and actually went back to Danger Productions and, I would assume begged, please do our animations for us again. Will you please? I'm sorry.
Please come back.
We screwed up. But would that be enough? Would that be enough to make a good game? So, with newer technology on the rise, Interplay saw this as an opportunity to create the Clay Fighter game that they had always envisioned. Initial development actually began on the 3DO M2. Remember that?
No.
Neither does anyone else. That was a console that came and went very, very quickly.
I guess so.
Focus, once that died, because it pretty much died during development, focus shifted to the PlayStation, but something about the PlayStation wasn't quite working out for them, so then they shifted to the N64. mainly because, according to them, the dev kit was much easier to use. The N64 also allowed the team to render 3D arenas around the characters, which, was something unique and kind of help things out. But one drawback that they saw was that this was the N64, still using cartridges, and did not have a CD-ROM, which would have been kind of nice. But they didn't let it slow them down. In fact, one element that they really stepped up their game on was sound design. Interplay hired a sound director who was working for Disney at the time, and even got some top-notch voice talent to bring these characters to life like never before. They even secured ring announcer Michael Buffer to come in and officiate the start of each round and even do color commentary throughout. So how could this go wrong?
Right?
I mean, that's great. Let's get ready to crumble. That's what he would say.
Yep.
Plot. What do we have in the plot department? Well, another meteor.
Oh, okay.
Who has a name, by the way. Her name is Bessie. Why?
Meteor?
I don't know. She has crashed onto Claymodo Island and holds the essential ingredient. Dr. Kiln needs to create a new mutagen. The ingredient? Bok choy.
Oh my god.
Together with his partner in slime, Happy Harry Hoonigan, they create an assortment of henchmen to help them take over the world. Luckily, because this is what happens in this situation, a ship capsizes near the island and washes ashore a slew of characters that could help stop their evil, devious plots.
Well, that's a lucky break.
I know. Now, if all of this hasn't got your attention, we have the all-star voice cast that I was just talking about.
Oh, yeah.
So who do we have here? Who do we have voicing these amazing characters like never before? Well, first of all, we're going to start off with the legendary Jim Cummings, who might be best known for the voice of Pete from the numerous Disney projects like Goof Troop and Kingdom Hearts. Hey, Goof, however you talk. I can't do Jim Cummings. He's too good. He lent his voice to Bad Mr. Frosty, so he's kind of got that big gruff, I'm Bad Mr. And he's got his hat back.
Oh, well, there you
go. He's looking different, but he's got his classy little top hat. He also does the voice of Hoonigan, who is kind of a witch doctor. Okay. And then Sumo Santa. Yes.
So
a
just how it sounds, I would imagine.
Morbidly obese Santa who wears nothing but a hat and a loincloth.
Nice.
And he actually takes off the loincloth to attack while holding his unmentionables.
That seems a little vulnerable, but okay.
It's a little disturbing, to be honest.
Yeah.
Does
he make eye contact?
Didn't really want to see that. Charlie Adler, who has a laundry list of credits, but may be best known for voicing Starscream in the Transformers films. But I promise you probably heard his voice on something. Mm-hmm. You go through in numerous animated projects, whatever. But that's the one I could say biggest thing he's done. He actually voiced Dr. Kiln and T-Hoppy, the Battle Bunny. Remember how Hoppy was he was the thing? Well, now he's got cybernetic parts. Now he looks more like a Terminator, but he's a robot still. But he's,
Yeah.
They upgraded him.
The birth of Five Nights, right?
Right. The Animaniacs themselves each voice a character.
Oh.
So you got Rob Paulsons, who's Yakko. He voiced the returning character Bonker.
Nice.
I'm a clown. However he does it. Jess Harnell, who's Wacko, voiced a new character, Kung Pao. You know where that's going, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. And Tress McNeil, who's Dot, voiced returning character Taffy. Okay. Oh, we're not done. Dan Castellaneta, known by most people as Homer Simpson,
Yeah.
reprised a role that he actually voiced on TV, Earthworm Jim, who was a guest fighter in this game.
Okay.
as well as another guest fighter from another outside game in the series, Boogerman. Did you ever hear of that?
No, it sounds gross.
It pretty much is. It's a lot of farting and booger picking and...
Why fart?
Because farts are funny and belching.
Yeah, but he's boogers.
Well, he does all three. It's like the
Just
trifecta.
Gross person. Should just be gross, man.
Boogers, burps, and farts.
Boogers.
He hits... Finally, vocal legend Frank Welker, as we all know, as Fred from Scooby-Doo, Megatron from Transformers, Nibbler from Futurama.
Oh, yeah.
Just to name a minor few. He voiced returning characters Blob and Ichabod Clay.
Nice.
So, in addition to all this awesomeness, the game introduced Claytalities, which spoofed the infamous Mortal Kombat fatalities, although it could be argued they were kind of jumping on a bandwagon since other fighting games were incorporating them as well. And they didn't quite do much to make them unique to the Clay aspect, or at least I don't feel like they did. Some were kind of funny, some were kind of, I was like, oh, that's cool, and then some just kind of, you know, it's like that's the best you can come up with.
You did a thing.
Yeah. But in October of 1997, boy, that was a year, the game released to the world, unfortunately, to mostly negative reviews, with most critics praising the voice acting and all that, but the humor didn't always land, and they just said the rest of the game was shit. Weak controls, choppy animation, frustrating move sets, claytalities that just didn't pay off like you really wanted them to. They were just some of the complaints that they were thrown out there. Despite all that, there was a special edition blockbuster rental only for this game too.
Oh, yeah?
Called the Sculptor's Cut. It had additional fighters that were initially cut and other added goodies. And fun fact, that version of the game is considered the rarest N64 title ever to be produced because there were only 20,000 copies in circulation.
Hear that, scalpers?
Mm-hmm. There's no telling how much it's... Yeah, I mean, it's Clay Fighter.
Well, it's only worth as much as someone's willing to pay for it.
Right. Now, we can see that this game killed the franchise, probably. But let me fill you in on a few extra details that probably wouldn't fly today. Okay? First of all...
We probably already named several.
Kind of, but we didn't go into it. First of all, for whatever reason, the other games, they had a parody sense of humor to them, you know? Mm-hmm. This game, for whatever reason, took a hard right turn and went into the juvenile burp and fart jokes. Okay? Sumo Santa would literally fart on someone. Same with Boogerman. There had one of his claytalities, and I could be wrong, misremembering, but he sat on them, and I guess they went up his ass, and he farts them out. Again, might be misremembering this, but I'm almost positive that's what happened. So, there you go. Now,
I hope you're not misremembering, because I don't want to think this is just like where Steven's brain goes when he can't remember a thing.
There was some...
Clearly, they went in the butt.
Yeah, there was some weird shit. Now, look, this is not to say, I don't want you people to think I'm being a prude. I've laughed at a fart joke.
Oh, well-timed fart joke is always appreciated.
Lest we forget Blazing Saddles. Just saying. There's a good one in there. But I'm just saying that it was kind of different than what they did before. It's like they just said, well, we got to make this funny. What are we going to do? Burp and fart jokes. All right, let's just throw them in. And then that's where you get Boogerman and characters like that. They didn't think about it. You know, this was about...
Spiraled out of control.
Yeah. It's like the idea of parody just went out the window, and they're just like, burp and fart jokes is fine. So, anyway. Next would be the inclusion or exclusion of certain characters, depending on how you want to kind of look at that. Now, I did mention a character named Kung Pao. Mm-hmm. Can you guess the type of character he is?
I mean, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
He's the Asian-looking character.
Stereotypical.
Oh, even the voice acting is,
Oh.
One
of us trying to do the accent kind of situation.
Yeah. I'm gonna give you an example.
Oh, please don't.
I won't do the voice.
Please, yeah.
His fighting moves are dishes of food. Egg foo young.
Chopsticks.
He has chopsticks.
He has think of that we just blend all of their culture into one thing because we can't differentiate between the two. Yeah,
all of that.
3 or 4, all.
Happy Harry Hoongan. I don't know how you say his name.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's a voodoo witch doctor. You want to care how to guess he sounds?
Yeah, I would imagine too.
What were you thinking? Like Jamaican, maybe?
Yeah, or I was thinking very Cajun around that area too, like
Jamaican man, hey man, or whatever. He does say this one thing in the game that I always found fascinating. I don't know what he's saying, but he'll look at the screen and go, "Weed yabi," and I'm like, all right. I don't know what he's saying. I don't know what he's saying.
Oh, okay.
It's just weed yabi. I'm like, all right, cool.
Whatever that says.
Yep.
Yeah.
These 2 characters were approved for the game, obviously.
Sure.
But you want to know the one character that was not deemed appropriate by Nintendo?
Oh, please do tell.
An alcoholic, homeless vigilante named Hobo Cop. Is that offensive to you?
Out of all of that, because that. Oh God.
I
yeah,
mean,
because it's not like a race. It's not a.
But do you find does that sound offensive to you?
No, but very little does these days. I don't know. I just kind of turn it all off. Maybe 10 years ago. I don't know. When I was still shocked at things.
I don't find that offensive.
But
in
I don't
fact,
get it enough, I don't think, to really.
I just find it sounds funny. You're doing like a parody of RoboCop to HoboCop.
Yeah,
He's just
HoboCop.
an alcoholic homeless vigilante. Okay, what's
I don't.
I understand.
Offending.
Yeah, I understand that there could be an offensive nature to it. I don't know what it is, but it's amazing that the racial stereotypes can make the cut, but not this guy.
Well, that just tells you
I know.
who was drawing the line in the sand there, you know.
I know. The series quietly fizzled out into obscurity, as did Interplay, who filed for bankruptcy not long after. Interplay did, if you remember our previous podcast discussing their long history, avoided going under, but attempted to revitalize the franchise in 2009 with the announcement of Clay Fighter Call of Putty, which would have been a remake of Clay Fighter 63 1/3. They were going to release it on Nintendo's WiiWare and DSiWare platforms. However, the game never saw the light of day. And unfortunately, I could not find a specific reason why. That said, I did find information that might explain why. In 2015, Interplay once again announced that Clay Fighter...
Huge leap.
Interplay once again announced that Clay Fighter would be returning. Initially, it seemed that this was going to be a remaster of the first game. However, an anonymous source who claimed to be an ex-staffer at Interplay said, quote, the game was going to be a trilogy of games mashing content from all 3 games into one and even reviving the unused cut content from the games and just tying it all into a game that was actually fun to play for once rather than a rushed mess due to time constraints. So what happened this time?
Yeah.
The anonymous source puts all the blame on Herve Kane, who's the founder of Titus Interactive, which, if you remember, is the company that acquired Interplay, making him the company's CEO.
Okay.
The source claims that the entire team worked for a year without any kind of proper compensation, a lack of communication, and a demand to rush the product to market despite the quality. Eventually, the team had had enough, and they just walked out, leaving it in a state of limbo. However, Kane never acknowledged this setback and told marketers to just change the game's release date to TBA, and apparently this is the same move he did in 2009.
Damn.
So, in 2016, it was reported that Interplay was looking to unload several IP to the highest bidder, and among those up for grabs was Clay Fighter, but as of this recording, it seems that Clay Fighter still remains in limbo with no buyers on the table. And it is a shame to me because this was a franchise that really could have had legs.
Yeah.
It was unique in its own way while still being a parody of the genre that it remained in. And I still feel like with the proper team behind it, it could be a hilarious romp with smart, scathing humor and solid gameplay. And as a matter of opinion, I think indie developer Second Order should consider tackling the game.
Yeah.
Their game Claybook shows that they can emulate the look and the movement of clay animation. So why not put that to work here? Now, sure, it's not going to be the same as, actual claymation characters and then put into video games, but maybe that's not really important right now. Revitalize the franchise using the technology we have today. Make a solid hit, then work on improving the technology down the road. Then maybe you can go back to that in a way. Mm-hmm. Great game franchises always work to improve what came before it. If you take a look at sequel after sequel after sequel, it usually gets better with the games, which is really weird.
The hope.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's usually the opposite in, the movie world, which don't get me started. Clay Fighter was a great idea that was always rushed to market. Enough time has passed for a return. I hope that we get one that's everything that I always wanted. But who knows? Perhaps my love for the franchise has hardened like an old ball of clay. There you have it, people.
That's
Clay
fun,
Fighter.
though.
Yeah.
I never heard of it.
It's something
Guess
special.
maybe that's where our divide, the console maybe versus the PC players in the 90s. Although I did have a N64.
Yeah. So it was one of those that just kind of came and went, like I said. So that one would have been easy to miss.
Yeah, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I wasn't as connected to all the news then either.
That's
I just
true.
played what I liked. Didn't know that there was going to have to be anything else. Well, thank you. Well, that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fun story. Excellent. Well, that's our show, I guess.
Yeah, that's it.
We finished off our week. So, as always, siblings, you can hit us up sometime on Twitter at SuperMegaCrash. You can send us an email to supermegacrash@gmail.com. Or you can go to Instagram. And you can view all the weekly icon art that Steven puts his time and love into. You can also support the show by liking and leaving reviews on your preferred platform and even going to patreon.com/Pencil and Paper Productions. You can tell your friends, your enemies, anyone you can find that you can find us at Pencil and Paper Podcast Network. I'm trying too much here.
That's okay.
Now I'm getting stumbled. Or just search Super Mega Crash Brothers Turbo on Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Pandora, and even youtube.com/Pencil Paper Productions and Amazon Music. I almost forgot that one. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Lacey Finley.
And I am Stephen White.
And you can join us again next time, Super Mega Crash siblings. But until then,
game on.
This has been a Pencil and Paper Podcast Network production.